Hello and welcome back to Sonder. My name is Maggie. I am a knitter and bibliophile and new doctor living here in Denver, Colorado. Just wanted to jump on today and talk a little bit about what I've been knitting, what I've been reading, and a little bit as well about what I'm excited to start reading in the coming months. So let's start with the knitting. Also, you may know that I have this beautiful puppy right down there and a cat on the other side, and they're being really loud and obnoxious. So we'll just see how this goes. Let's see. Do you want to see Sansa? Because she is so cute. This is my cat, Sansa. She is a calico cat that found us at the pound. She was like the wand choosing the wizard. We went to go get another cat, and we were looking at a cat named Earl Grey, and we went for her because she just walked right up to us and, like, slithered up on us and was essentially like, "You're going to be taking me home. Please and thank you." Anyhow, what a time. I am back in Denver, but for the last week, I actually was on vacation, which is my first paid vacation, like, of my whole life, I think. I don't think I've ever had another one before. So that was cool. Because this is the times of COVID, I spent my vacation back home up in Steamboat Springs where I grew up, and it was amazing. We just spent the entire week mountain biking and reading and knitting and swimming in the river and taking Yampa for hikes. It was incredible. And also I think at first I was kind of like, why would I ever want a vacation like 3 weeks after I started a new job? That seems a little bit ridiculous. But I actually think that it gave me some time to sit back and reflect on things that bring me joy, things that I need to keep doing to prevent burnout and remain happy and healthy throughout the next 4 years. So yeah, I think it really helped to give me a little bit of perspective for maintaining my wellness throughout the rest of the year until I have my next vacation. So yeah, it was great. I think, the times of COVID are really strange because we were hoping this summer to go to Norway to visit some friends that we have that live there. But no one's going anywhere on planes. It's unsafe to go anywhere on planes. And also, nobody wants us because the United States is just a complete and utter dumpster fire when it comes to managing this outbreak, this pandemic. So anyway, got on a little bit of a tangent there, but that's just to say that we spent it up in the mountains, and it was beautiful. It's a really special thing that we get to go home to one of the most beautiful places in the world, and that it is just a short drive from our house. So I feel really, really thankful for that. And it was really relaxing. I got to spend a bunch of time with my mom, and my mom is a really, really huge part of my life. I'm really close with her, and so getting to spend some quality time with her and my stepdad was really awesome. We ate so much delicious food and generally just played outside, and it was great. But I also had the opportunity to work on a lot of knitting while I was up there, so I'm going to go over that. The first day that we went up there, it was last Saturday, and I was just like, "Mom, there's a yarn store up in Craig, and I want to go to it." And she was like, "Okay, fine, sounds good." And we drove up there. My mom has a Jeep, and we took the top off of the Jeep, and I got very sunburned just on this one arm, which I was like driving with it, so that's why. But anyway, we went up to this yarn store in Craig, and what it actually is like a mill where a lot of yarn is processed. And so they process some of their own yarn, meaning some of their own wool from the lambs that they have in their farm. And then they also process yarns from other places in like Northwest Colorado. So Hugh Loco has the like woolen yarn, and they are the ones who mill and spin that yarn, so, or that wool into yarn. And so going up there was incredible because I expected it to just be a yarn store, and then we just start driving out of Craig and go up this like country road for another 10 miles and just like turn onto this ranch, and there's a mill there, and we walk outside and there are all of these ladies sitting in front of spinning wheels, like 8 feet apart with their masks on, just like spinning wool into yarn. And it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. It was so cool. So anyway, I bought a sweater's quantity of yarn while we were there, and then my mom also got me a sweater's quantity. So I'll show those really fast and then show what I am making out of them. So anyhow, this is the yarn that I got. I got a sweater's quantity of this beautiful, it is 100% CVM, and you can see the Yampa Valley Fiberworks Nature Fiber Milling. And let's see, it is sport weight, and oh my gosh, so it's this really light muted gray color. It is so squishy and so soft. Like, this yarn is everything. And you guys, it is from one single ewe named Sadie. And the woman who works at the mill said that Sadie is one of her favorite ewes that they have, and that she is like all really light, like really light gray, really light white, and then just her face is black. And she said that she looks like a badger. And I thought that that was the cutest goddamn thing I've ever heard in my life. So yeah, thanks Sadie for giving me this beautiful, beautiful yarn. And then I tied this with, actually just had to go buy one more skein. So I actually have a skein here. I put it together with the Spin Cycle yarns dyed in the wool, and this is their Shades of Earth colorway, which is pretty much like if I were a colorway, it would be this. It is just beautiful. It's all of the earthy jewel tones that you could ever want in your life, and it looks so beautiful with this. Oh my god, it is perfect. So yeah, this is a really special project because this wool is obviously all from their farm, and happy little lucky Sadie lives in the Yampa Valley, which is the valley that I grew up in. I did not grow up in Craig. I grew up in Steamboat, Colorado, Steamboat Springs, but it's just down the road. So this, and then this is also 100% American wool. I think it comes from Montana, but I could be mixing that up. I'm actually not 100% sure where Spin Cycle gets their wool from, but I know that this is American wool. And so the two of these together are making this sweater, which honestly I have to say that my knitting mojo is pretty low. I will show you some of the socks that I've been working on, but I've like essentially just been knitting socks and this other sweater that I needed to just take a little bit of a break from, which I'll show you that sweater as well. But I started knitting this literally last Saturday. It is now Saturday, so it's taken me 1 week to knit this, and I'm working on the ribbing. I'll just show it to you. This is the Ghost Horses sweater by Caitlin Hunter, and it's amazing. So you just start with this really beautiful colorwork yoke that goes into this like horse motif, and then you just have this repeating colorwork, and then I decided to change it a little bit. So I guess I'll just try it on for you. It is going to be 1,000,000 degrees, so I'm literally just going to put it on and take it off. Is this a good idea? I'm committed. So it's supposed to be a tight-fitting sweater, but I actually knit it, and I think it will block out with even more, but I knit it with like probably like 3 inches of positive ease, and then I'm hopefully gonna, I want it to be a little bit boxier than that, so we'll see what happens. But this is it on for now, and this is all you'll get because I'm dying. It's like 100 degrees in Denver, and I just can't. All right. But so I did decide to change it a little bit. So this sweater is supposed to be with like 1 inch of positive ease, and I decided to knit a sweater up from what I would normally knit in that weight. So I am knitting it with like, I think it was like about 6 inches of positive ease, which I think is about right. Once it blocks, it will definitely grow a little bit. Not a lot because it's not super washed, but I anticipate that it will just kind of like mellow out and grow a little bit. I'm hot just having it on my legs. So that is one alteration that I did. The other is that the ribbing is supposed to be in 2x2 ribbing, but you can see I did 1x1 twisted rib. And then for the bottom, I knit it about 3 inches longer. She has it to be like a much more cropped sweater, which I wanted it to be a little bit more of like an oversized boxy sweater that would look really good with like a pair of jeans. And so I knitted it a little bit longer, and then instead of doing what she does for the bottom, which is a pay-for pattern, so I don't want to like give too much of it away, but I decided to do a split hem. So you can see I'm working on the back still now, but I did a split hem, and then the front I knit for like 2 inches of 1x1 twisted rib, and then on the back I'm gonna knit like 3 inches of this 1x1 twisted rib. And I love it. I think it is so rustic and so beautiful. It's everything I could ever want in a sweater. And yeah, it was also just really fun. It was exactly what I needed right now. I love color work. I think it's really fun to watch it grow. And I'm going to be using, I have this much more of this, and then one more, and I'm going to use that with this to do the arms. So I am going to change the arms a little bit. She has the option for doing both short and long sleeves, but her long sleeves are kind of like a bell sleeve, and that's not really what I'm looking for. I already have a bell sleeve that I've knitted of Caitlin Hunter's, and it's the Koivua, which I changed the sleeves of that quite a bit, and I'll talk about those that sweater sometime when it's not 100 degrees and I like feel okay wearing a worsted weight colorwork sweater. But what I'm planning on doing is knitting and like slowly decreasing so that it's a more tightly fitting sleeve, and then I want to stop at about 3/4 length with the color work, and then I'm going to knit a long cuff, so like a 6-inch cuff of 1x1 rib in just the gray. And I think that will be like a really beautiful rustic, and I think it will tie together the whole sweater rather than having the color work all the way down. I'm just going to do the color work like 3/4 of the way down, and then a longer rib. And then I like my sweaters to be more of like a princess, or sorry, what's that called, bracelet length. And so I'll stop there. So yeah, I'm really excited. It's a little bit hard to knit when it's this hot. It's a little bit hard to knit with wool. So we'll see when I'll be able to work on that. I am going to be in the hospital quite a bit over the coming weeks, and some of that hospital time is spent sleeping overnight at the hospital, and oftentimes when that is happening, you're not really sleeping, you're awake, but you have some downtime, and it's also like, it just fucks with your circadian rhythm, and so you actually get really cold, which is bizarre. And so that is all to say that I'm probably going to be pretty cold and spending a lot of time in that sweater. So yeah, or spending a lot of time knitting that sweater. So hopefully I'll have that done in the next couple of weeks. And that is in my Fat Squirrel bag. If you don't watch Amy Beth's podcast, you definitely don't watch this, because that is a much more popular podcast, but I love it. And she called this her cats and housecoats bag, and I literally bought it immediately. I like set a timer and went on and got this, and it's one of my favorite bags. yeah, I feel like I have 2 bags right now that are my absolute favorite bags, and this is one of them. Look at them. Look at these cats. Oh my god, it's the best. The next thing, well, I thought I could show you this. I made this, I don't even remember what the name of the pattern is, but I made this face mask, and y'all, I was just really proud of myself. Maybe I should put it on so you can see. But I perfectly matched this monkey wrench fabric so that it is a mirror of monkeys. And one of the monkeys has a wrench, and the other monkey doesn't have a wrench. And look at the front. I mean, I was really impressed. I feel like I have it on really crooked. There we go. Look at that. Look at the mirror. There's a seam. Anyway, monkey wrench. This is my favorite mask. I wear it. I mean, you wash it every time, but I wear it often because I love it. And I just think it's really whimsical. And when, like, the apocalypse is happening around you, you just need some whimsy in your life. The next thing that I want to show you is in my Nerd Bird Makery Craftivism bag. And I also went on and bought this after, like, I was, like, sitting in my car. And it's a really well-made bag, but mostly I got it for this amazing print. So they just have a bunch of different people doing the things that we love and bringing people together. And the bottom is a really wonderful navy blue wax canvas, and I love it. It's my favorite bag. That and the Fat Squirrel Housecoats bag, Cats and Housecoats. These are my 2 favorites. This I am knitting. This is the... oh, what's it called? This is an Andrea Makery sweater, and it's called the Daydreamer. So, you can actually see it. That is astonishing. This is knit bottom up, and it's an all-over textured knit, which you can see it has like honeycomb cables, and then it has this cable and bauble motif, and you can see on there that I have a little butterbeer. That is a Simply Serving butterbeer. And also on here I have the Grim in her little coffee, or I guess it's a teacup. And I know that J.K. Rowling is going, I don't even know what to say. I'm so disappointed in her. J.K. Rowling has been putting out a lot of really horrible transphobic tweets that are ridiculous and ignorant and wrong and hurtful. And all of those things are true. And I love Harry Potter and have a very soft spot in my heart for that series, and that is the series that got me into reading. That's the series that got me through med school in a lot of ways. And so while I don't want to promote J.K. Rowling and completely disagree with everything that she's saying about trans people, I also really love Harry Potter and really love the Harry Potter universe, and it's something that I will never stop loving. And so I'm sure to some people that makes me a hypocrite, but I just love it. And the Harry Potter universe has gotten me through a lot, and so I'm going to continue to love it and continue to talk about how horrible J.K. Rowling is while also continuing to love it. So I don't know. That's not a very eloquent way to talk about that, but I am knitting the Daydreamer out of the Cumbria Into the Hills fingering, but it's honestly more of a sport weight, and this is their Derwentwater colorway. Oh, this is a mixture of, it's a lustrous blend of brown Masham wool, merino, and mohair, and it is this perfect navy blue color. That is this is a perfect representation of what the color looks like. am surprised that it's picking up so well. But yeah, I am really obsessed with this, and it is going so well, but also is taking me forever. I also have to pick back, so that's why this is in timeout a little bit. I don't know if you can see it, but essentially, in order to do this texture, you have to do one line of texture and then one line where you just like knit the knits and purl the pearls. And I accidentally did one too many of the just knitting the knits and purling the pearls, and so I have to knit back one row, and these rows just take so long. I mean, this one doesn't take as long because it's just like a knitting the knit, purling the purl, but it's just frustrating. And this is taking me forever, and so I'm just putting it in timeout just a little bit, just for a little while I finish my other sweater, and then I'll go back. But I think this is going to be a sweater that I wear all the time. I also knit this a little bit longer than Andrea Makery wants you to knit it, so I think for her it's like a super crop sweater, and for me I wanted it to be cropped, but also something I can wear with jeans and not just over a dress, because I honestly don't wear dresses that much. So yeah, I am really loving it. I don't really have anything else to say about it except that it's bottom up. And I personally, I know this is a controversial thing to say, but I like bottom up sweaters. I think I won't like this one as much as I like other ones, because this one, I think you knit and then you pick up the sleeves and you knit the sleeves down. But I am here for a bottom up sweater where you also knit the sleeves bottom up, because it just makes the process of knitting sleeves much more enjoyable, because you don't have this like whole monstrous thing attached to it. So I don't know. I knit a lot of sweaters by Fable Knitwear, and I will wear those throughout the fall and winter, and we'll show them off to you guys. But I love her sweaters because they're knit bottom up and the sleeves are knit bottom up, and then you join in the round, and it's just like a very enjoyable thing to knit, because you don't have to constantly be like moving the sweater around while you're knitting the sleeves. I don't know, maybe I'm knitting sleeves wrong. Please tell me if I am. Please tell me if there's a better way to do it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the Daydreamer. It's something that I started working on because I was just working on stockinette things, and I just needed like a little bit more. I just needed a little bit more to have my brain work on. But now I'm kind of in the mood to have a little bit less for my brain to work on, and so it's just something that's coming and going. I will also say that I am a very loose knitter, and so with Andrea Makery, I think that Caitlin Hunter is a very loose knitter as well, because I always just knit her sweaters at whatever she tells me to, and they always turn out great and exactly what I wanted. Where Andrea Makery, I always have to go down like, I think it went down like 2 or 3 needle sizes, like whole needle sizes, so I don't know. Anyhow, the last knitting that I want to talk about, and then I have one more acquisition from the mill, but I have been working on these, just, I guess I call them vanilla socks, but other people don't call them vanilla socks. So I generally knit my socks as a rib of some kind for pretty much the whole sock. If it is a self-striping yarn, then I will usually knit it a 3x1 rib, but if it's not, then I just kind of go with what I'm feeling. This one happens to be a 2x2 rib. So it's just 64 stitches, 2x2 rib. I do a slip stitch, heel, flap, and gusset with a garter edge, and then just knit until I'm ready to put in my toe, and then I do the toe usually in, well, sometimes I do it in contrast and sometimes I don't. It just kind of depends. This one I happen to. This is a colorway from the Homespun House. It is her Overdose Awareness colorway, and it's just this really fun, kind of feel weird calling it fun because it's an overdose awareness yarn, but yeah, it's dark, which is probably a little bit more in line with what the yarn is trying to cause, like trying to bring awareness to, but it is a black colorway with some white and some bright colors. So the bright colors that I see are like bright yellow, blue, purple, and a kind of chartreuse green. And my understanding is that this was to raise money for helping funeral expenses and was knit by both the woman who owns Homespun House, which I don't remember her name, but also her sister Amy, who has lived experience. And this is just a cause I can get behind. I am really passionate about addiction medicine, and it's something that is very important, not just for people working in medicine, but also for the entire country, to recognize that addiction is a disease and requires treatment, and to reduce the stigma around that. So, and you know, one of the leading cause of death of young people in the United States right now is overdose. And there's a lot of public health crisis going on, and I think it's important to remember that things like addiction and what we more often call it things like opioid use disorder, alcohol use disorder, amphetamine use disorder, is also still really important, even in a world where so many other things are going on. And in fact, you know, I've spent quite a bit of time in the hospitals recently, and people are going through a really tough time right now. I think I said in my last podcast that we all need to take care of each other, but I'm going to keep saying that. We all need to take care of each other. I've seen a lot of overdoses, a lot of suicide attempts that are related to people having their entire lives disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's really scary and really sad, and we need to take better care of each other. So let's try to do that. All right, the last knitting that I want to talk about is just a further stash acquisition. So I mentioned that I bought some sport weight yarn from the Yampa Valley Fiber Works natural fiber milling. And I also said that my mom bought me some yarn. So she bought me this beautiful, oh my God. This is the Moonshine's Ranch. So this is from their alpaca and their sheep. It's 65% Cormo and 35% alpaca. It is worsted weight, and the color is American Pharaoh, which I think has to do with horse racing or something, the lady told me. But it is this really beautiful, really deep and complex kind of reddish brown color. That is like exactly what the color is. So when you come closer, it gets a little bit more washed out, but I want to do that just so you can see the depth of color. And then back here, it's kind of this like really dark reddish orange. And I'm obsessed with it. I got 5 skeins of it. It's 200 yards per skein, and it's $24 per skein, which I think is a pretty good deal for like really beautiful hand-dyed like farm yarn. Just, oh, and it's so soft, you guys. Oh my God. So I am planning on knitting this into the Weekender by Andrea Makery. It is a sweater that is super simple, but has kind of all of the elements that I'm looking for just like a really easy to wear sweater that will also be easy to knit, because I've been working on a lot of more complicated things with like an all over colorwork sweater and an all over cabled sweater, and I'm just looking really forward to jumping into this, which will be, you know, a pretty simple, but will really show off this beautiful yarn and something that I'll wear really often. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And that is all that I have for knitting right now. The last thing I'll share is, so I just went and got that extra skein of yarn from Fancy Tiger, and it is their 14-year anniversary, and they gave me this really awesome bandana to celebrate them being open for 14 years. And I think that it's like a really special thing to have a world-renowned craft shop be my neighborhood craft shop. So that was really cool, and I just wanted to give a shout out to them and talk about how awesome I think they are. All right. So quickly, I just want to move on to talking a little bit about the reading I've been doing. I mostly am going to split them up, but I've just decided right now that I'm going to talk about reading kind of in my like wrap-ups. And so maybe at the beginning, I'll put in a little thing that says like, if you only care about reading, jump to this page, this time, or whatever. But I'm going to talk about what I've been reading, just really briefly, and then a little bit about books that I picked up. So, me and my mom have a dual love of horror. Really weirdly, like my brother loves horror, my mom loves horror, my whole family loves horror. Like it's just something that really brings us together. And I mean like my extended family, like all of my cousins growing up, maybe it was because I was the youngest and I was the only girl, but they like made me watch horror movies that were probably a little too graphic to be watching when you're like 5, but like when I was like 5. And I have such a soft spot for horror. It's something that I really love. And I've heard a bunch of people talking about The Troop recently, and it's The Troop by Nick Cutter, and I will put a picture of it somewhere. But yeah, so I just finished reading that. I was reading that over my vacation, and it was pretty fucked up. There were like times where I definitely got the heebie-jeebies, but I think what I realized, so The Troop essentially is about a scoutmaster and his, I think, 5 boys that he takes every year on a camping trip. So it's kind of like the Boy Scouts. And they're in the wilderness of Canada, and they're on this secluded island, and out of the bush comes a man who is emaciated. Like, he is completely cachectic, and he just needs to eat something. And he's, like, eating, you know, like ropes and like the soil, like he's that hungry. And it's kind of about what happens on the island. And it's a story that's interspersed with kind of what's going on with all of the boys and with the scoutmaster and with this guy that they find, and then also with like the larger like government conspiracy, like newspaper articles and stuff like that. So it's like a really fun, like multimodal thing that's going on. And it was really interesting. I'm really glad that I read it. I think I only gave it like a 3 out of 5 stars, mostly because I realized as I was reading it that I'm actually much more interested in paranormal, like ghosts and like haunted houses and stuff like that, than I am in like body horror, and this is like body horror. And so it's like fucked up to read about, and I really enjoyed it because, you know, it's like not gonna win any like literary awards, like, but regardless, it was just so much fun. So I wanted to show some of the horror books that I've picked up, and I actually remember that there's just one more I want to grab, or 2 more I want to grab. So while I was staying up in Steamboat, I picked up a few horrors. My mom, like I said, she loves horror. The woman gets down with horror. And she has, like, all of the Stephen King in hardcover. But, like, when I say that, I mean, like, the original print. Because she's loved horror forever. So, I realized that I have not read most of Stephen King's work. Like, I've read almost nothing. I've read, like, The Outsider and probably a couple others, but like I can't really think of them right now. And so my mom gave me a bunch of her Stephen King, and I'm sorry, I realized that there's another one up here. So I just wanted to go over my little like Stephen King book haul from my mom's library. So she gave me her, like, I think this is her original copy of Misery by Stephen King. Look how young he looks. Also, that's like kind of a creepy picture. Like, what is he doing with his face? I don't know. Not a good choice. She gave me Pet Cemetery. Look at this. It's so old. It's so old. So old and creepy. Salem's Lot. The Shining. Oh, God. I mean, what? No. And Different Seasons. And this is 4 novellas. Like, look at this. He's so cute. He's like hanging out with his son. Can we just compare? Like, what were you thinking, Stephen King? Why? Why that picture? So I'm really excited to read that. I think that I'm going to try to read like one horror every other month for the next however many months. And then I also picked up Home Before Dark, which I'm going to take part in the what is it called? The Literally Dead book club. They're reading this in August, and so I picked this up. And this is supposed to be a like really great kind of spooky thriller. And the main character's name is Maggie, and I'm such a narcissist that I am here for that. And then I also picked up in my Book of the Month Club box this month, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And I'm actually going to be reading this probably next. This one I'm really excited to read. I've heard that it's not as scary as some other books, but like more beautiful. And I honestly think that being lost in the language of a book makes me think that it's like much more spooky because I'm just like really invested in the world, where I think with The Troop, that was something that sort of turned me off, is that the writing was pretty rudimentary. And so I think something like this will have me much more engaged because the writing is more beautiful. So yeah, this is like my stack of horror that I want to get through over the next like year or so. I definitely don't get to keep any of these. Those are all my mom's, and she was like, you can't steal these forever. You have to give them back. And so I was like, okay, I will take them for an indeterminate amount of time, but not forever. Alrighty. And then I just wanted to talk about the couple of other books that I'm actually going to be reading kind of right on my immediate horizon. So I'm also taking part in another book club, and together we are reading all of Octavia Butler's work in like near publication order, and we're starting with Kindred. And I am really excited about this. I have just recently gotten into sci-fi. This year I read Dune, and I'm reading a couple other sci-fi right now. So I'm reading An Absolutely Incredible Thing, I think is what it's called. And what other sci-fi have I read this year? I've read a few other sci-fis, but it's a genre that I haven't actually really explored that much. And so I'm trying to get more into sci-fi, and reading Octavia Butler is necessary. And so I'll put the links to that book club down below in case anybody wants to join there, but really excited to start reading this. I think I have to have this finished by the end of August, and so this will be I'll probably start reading this really soon. And then I've also started reading The Vanishing Half by Britt Bemid. It is beautiful. Everybody's talking about this right now, so I feel like I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because everyone's talking about it, but all I have to say is that it's gorgeous. I'm doing it as a buddy read with one of my co-interns, and so we're going to be reading it together and able to talk about it. And oh, it's just Britt Bennett. I need to read her other novel that she wrote because it is so beautiful. I'm only about 50 pages in, so I'm still like really early, but so far the story is just evolving gorgeously. And then the last one, this is something I just started reading. I feel like every time I read romance, I have to like give the caveat of like, I don't normally read this, but I was on vacation and I was in the mood. And, you know, I feel like that's kind of getting old because the thing is like, sometimes I want to read some saucy Victorian romance, and that's what I picked up. I picked up Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. This is her debut novel, and it is so fucking good. It is so fun. I am loving it. I do have to say that I am like such a sucker for Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice, the hate to love trope, which I feel like was started by Pride and Prejudice, I love it. And so I've loved this so far. I literally just started it yesterday and I'm already 165 pages, and that's pretty much all I'm going to do tonight is like edit this video and read this book. So if you are looking for something that will bring you joy and is kind of like literary fluff, which sounds weird, but like, you know, if you want to escape to another world, and if that world is Victorian England and you want to read about suffragettes who are both fighting for the right to vote while seducing dukes, then this is the book for you. And it's great. I've already gotten like a little hot and bothered by it, so highly recommend. But yeah, so those are the books that I am currently reading, things that are on my horizon to read. I know, so I did just start reading, oh gosh, I feel like I'm going to just put it up here. I think it's called An Absolutely Remarkable Thing or An Incredible Thing or something is great. But anyway, it's a really fun sci-fi that I feel like every millennial should read because it's like a book that's written for millennials and will absolutely love it. But the sequel just came out, so I'm excited to read that and finish that and then go from there. So yeah, I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everyone is staying safe, staying socially distanced, wearing a mask, caring about more than just your own well-being. I hope all of those things are happening. And I'll catch you soon. All right.